So you're still opinion, how different is the internal content level with you guys? How different
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is accountability. I think when you're trying to get to feel, especially last year coming from France and with the team, like it was tough to kind of you don't really know everybody. You have an idea of certain guys, but not everybody. And I think now, especially as we had about 3.5, 4 weeks in Cleveland, we had 2 team camps. So this seemed like our first time like getting to it. So these stuff we've talked about over the summer, you're starting to see come to fruition here. You're starting to see it earlier. Not having to explain stuff as much. So it's obviously great that you continue to have that relationship and build that, and you see it on purpose.
So after last season, you mentioned, nobody has certainly been aware about what you guys do. Thank you. Can you talk about you guys not control this year? Prevent, you got your all the goals for all the things I always say, right? How do you prevent that from being negative?
Well, I mean, you got to get there. I mean, it's not like one of those things where you just kind of, roll your way into the just because we have talent. At the end of the day, we still have to build our habits. You can't get to the postseason and just switch it on. We got to continue to build. You got to continue to, play 3 and 4s and be tired. Play back-to-backs and be tired. Build that mental toughness. Be down by 20. Be up by 20. Keep a lead. You know what I'm saying? Like have those different things happen. So when you get to the playoffs, be not just finding it. I think that's the biggest motivation. You can't just go out there and just say, hey, we're talented. We're proving our way to this or whatever. There's still habits to be built. There's still quality of basketball that we have to continue to have in order to get there and hit and peak at the right time.
What are the habits?
I think continuing the physicality, continuing, whether it's being picked up full court, when you're tired physically, mentally, continue to push through. I think that's a lot of the thing. I think, like I said, we're talented as a group. The talent only gets you so far. I think just continuing to be like, all right, we're coming in here on a day-to-day basis, executing the game plan. It may not always be our best day, but how are we going to find ways to win each and every situation, each and every game that we play?
What do you see that's different, anything about
that? I try not to OD because I don't want to put all this expectation, but at the same time I do want to put the expectation on him. He's dominant. He's going out there. He's confident, I should say. When you believe and when you work so hard, the game comes easy. When you believe that you're this and that, and I think it just takes year by year, and you're seeing it. There are times where he's gotten boggled down and kind of flustered, and then in the same possession, recuperate, and then get right back to it. Get to a bucket, get to a solid play. And that's what comes with having the ball in your hand. That comes with, taking those steps with that. You're going to have to play through mistakes. You're going to have to learn on the fly. And I think last year was really good for him. It was a good summer this year, a great summer this year. And I think just on the see in camp, his confidence level is continuing to go, which you're seeing play out.
Why to put all that stuff on the field? Why?
Because at the same time, he is young. So it's a balance. But we are winning now. So it's one of those balances you got to play. Understand that he's not going to come out and be perfect. He may come out and have a great stretch. He may come out and have a bad stretch. He may have it's just the ups and flows of it, right? And for me, you're always going to challenge it too. I'm always going to challenge him to be the best. But in the same time, you got to have grace too. So it's a balance. And as a leader, and he's becoming a leader himself, you got to have that. He won't say that, because that's who he is. But you got to have balance because it's not all just going to come. But he's continuing to take those steps, and he looks great. And I'm happy to see him take that leap again this year.
Donovan, you're going to be first person.
Yeah, I think, obviously it's different. He's obviously in the starting lineup this year. Max and VG are out. So naturally they're going to be touches early on. I think you're starting to see the aggression that we saw in Atlanta. Not to say he wasn't that, but it's tough to come in halfway and then kind of just get situated and get thrown in the playoffs. And it's like, oh, we're just going to figure it out. I mean, you kind of got there at first, but in spurts, but you have a full off season, when you have enough film, when you have camp, you're starting to see him find his spots. Us getting him the ball in these spots. He's making plays for himself, making plays for others, making the game easy for everybody.
What's it like having
Say what?
What's it like having
Man, Lonzo's great, man. He's a calm, cool presence. IQ's on a whole other level. Takes the ball, he just throws the full court like he's back at Chino Hills and making great plays, and he's in the gaps defensively. He's a big piece for him. He's going to get a lot of those shots. He's going to create playmaking and defensively. He's going to do a lot of different things on the floor. So it's great to have him. We're excited.
You guys also have 30 back this offseason. It's his second time around.
First time, but there's something business there because yeah. What's it like having a guy like that? Yeah, when you have a guy that's not only been there with a championship team, he's played with greatness of Kobe Bryant. Like, you know what I mean? He's seen so much and he's able to kind of tell everybody what he's seen. It's a different voice, you know. I've never been to the finals, but I got some years. You know, Max has been to the finals. You know, you got Trey, who's been to the conference finals. You got Larry, you got TB, who just went to the finals. So when you have all these voices coming in and kind of sharing their experience, and it's great to have different voices come out there. Obviously, the level of player he is definitely going to help us. But when you have a guy that can kind of call stuff out that he's seen that help us get to that next level, it's great. Go ahead, James.
Hey, Donovan, congratulations on all of your success. The opportunity and the window is open to play for an NBA title as well as earn an MVP in the process. Just talk about continuing to work and what you see with this team.
I mean, we haven't accomplished anything, James, to be honest. You know, we've had a lot of success in the regular season, but ultimately we didn't make this roster and do what we do to play, 82 games, and we fell short for the past 3 years. And there's steps to get there. Obviously, it doesn't just happen, but I think now the motivation is only one thing. In order to get there, it starts with camp down here, but I'm excited for what we got coming forward. I'm excited where our mental is, and we're going to be ready to go.
Spider, you mentioned some of the pieces. Lonzo's in, the big fellas there. You've got some guys on that ball club, and you guys are trying to win. You're focused. Just talk about the process. It's year 2 at IMG and just the process.
I mean, that's all it's about is the process. Like at the end of the day, we fell short, but, we continue to plug and play, continue to take those steps. We've progressed each year, most definitely, just not enough, but on the flip side, it's like, hey, we've made a lot of steps. Evan's taking a step, DG's taking a step, JA, Max, we've added some new pieces. We got Larry, we got Dre, we got Zoe. So we're taking steps. Now we just got to go out there and execute. So you got to, I hate to quote the Sixers, but you got to trust the process in a sense and believe in the work and ultimately get there, and we will.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Hey, Don, leading up to this camp and even after last season, Kenny's been talking about just how locked in Jaylen's looked. Just from your perspective in watching him and being on the court with him, what's that been like for you to see him going into a second year?
Man, that kid, he's hungry. I said this last year. I've never seen a kid come out and lead his team in scoring in college, shoot every shot, every single shot, and then come in here and say, hey, I want to play in the half row. I want to screen and get you guys open. I want to defend. Like, that mentality is the sense of maturity that you want to have out of a young guy, and I respect that. And obviously he didn't get as many minutes last year, but understanding this summer, hey, this is what it's going to take for me to get here. I need to be in shape. I need to be primed and ready. He's one of our best most in shape players that we have right now. I've challenged him all summer. I've said, hey, every time we play a basketball game, every time we play, anytime anything's live, you're guarding me. We're battling back and forth. So he understands like consistently what it's going to take. And then on the flip side, he's made me a better player. So like when you have a guy that's 21 years old, being able to do that shows the level of maturity, shows that he's ready, he's hungry, he's working on his jump shot, working on being smart, showing his hand, not fouling. I think that'll come a long way for us. And I think he's going to take a big step for us. And I think a lot of people are going to start to realize who Jaylen Tyson is after this season.
How is throwing him in the fire, so to speak, because he's obviously going to have some opportunities on early this season, especially, how does that help the process and kind of just, you're thrown into the deep end, you got to learn how to swim.
Yeah, I mean, there's no time like the present, right? Like we can sit here and kind of try to get him along and show him film, but we're throwing him right in there. And, you don't just do that for guys who aren't necessarily ready. I think it's something where you have to have that trust and belief in order to be able to do that. And I think he's earned that. That's a respect to him and what he's done. To the point where I can tell him to get his ass out the gym to go sit down. You know what I'm saying? But he's great energy, great vibes, positive always, and wants to be great at what he does, and I respect that.
Ethan? Don, you've talked a lot this preseason about the players around you, but I was curious what your expectation was for yourself this summer, what you had as a goal, and what you might have learned from yourself this summer as well.
I've learned, I'll start with the last one. I've learned to give myself grace. That's a big one. I think when you, as you get older, you start to understand like, hey, there's a place for that, and it's not an excuse. You know what I'm saying? That there's a room for that, and when you have that, it allows you to kind of take a step back, and there's a peaceful side of it too. And you're at your best when you're at peace in that way. So, took me a while to get there, but you learn to give yourself grace to understand like, hey, you're not going to be perfect. And like I always say, as you continue to do the little things, put the work and put the time in, eventually the results will come to fruition. So that's first and foremost. And then my goals, I mean, obviously to be the best player I can be for this group and one of the best players in the NBA. Like that's always been my goal. I'm never going to say, I mean, yeah, do I want to win MVP? Do I want to be first team? Do I want to do all these things? For sure. But that comes with team success. So as long as the team's succeeding, everything else will follow. But you always have individual awards. But one thing I've learned over my time is they don't just come and, we're fighting to get into the playoffs. As long as we continue to do our business and do what we need to do and play at the level I've always played at, everything else will come to fruition.
Was there an area of your game that you were focused on improving this summer?
I think honestly off the dribble shooting in different ways. A lot of times, you're taking bumps, taking contact, getting to the rim, which is great. But sometimes being able to knock down a simple three, knock down a mid-range, even when you're tired in different scenarios. My playmaking, decision-making, especially now. And I feel like I've always been good at it, but just continue to take another level. And like I said, the simple ones, just the kick aheads, the little things like that, not necessarily just looking for the assist and whatnot. So I'm excited. I feel ready to go and get to it.